The Arlington Renewal project picked up where it left off back last November, holding a meeting at the American Legion Hall and hearing from two people who figured prominently in another turnaround effort that began a few years ago in Rutland. Steve Costello, a vice president at Green Mountain Power, the state's largest electric utility, described a project he got involved with back when Rutland was reeling from heightened heroin and drug activity and the crime that often accompanies that. Costello put his energy into Rutland Blooms, a project that planted crabapple trees and flowers around parts of the town to boost civic pride and encourage those living in those areas to tidy things up themselves. The project dovetailed with Project Vision, whose goal was also to turn things around in Rutland on the crime and drug fronts.
So we came up with this idea. It started out, sounds really corny, but it really did work. The original idea was, let's plant millions of flowers and just make this place a place that people really think of when they hear about flowers or when they come through this place will be known for that. So we very quickly transitioned to planting flowering crabapple trees. And we started with some of the most rundown areas in town. It's all been done with volunteer labor. It's also been done without any tax money. Everything Rutland Blooms has done, which now includes probably close to 1,000 flowering crabapples planted throughout the city, some big maples planted in key places that were really needing something bigger than a 10-foot tree. We've done it all through donations.
Sometimes all it takes is one person or group to serve as a spark plug, Costello said after the meeting.
I think people are just hungry to make improvements. I think any community that's got challenges, people want to help, they just don't know how. And when someone throws an idea out there, in my experience in Rutland, people have lined up to try to help. They've done it with Rutland Blooms, with the flowers, with the planting of trees, and now with art, with public art. And I think people are invested in the community. They're just not sure how to do the work and what needs to be done. And once you throw a few ideas out there, I think people are really willing to help.
James Baker, an Arlington resident and former commander of the Vermont State Police, who also served a stint as Rutland's police chief, said the project had been part of what has widely come to be seen as a successful effort to restore local pride, which in turn has contributed to an overall rebound in the city.
What I don't want you to lose in this conversation is this is more than just trees. So the trees could be something else. And some of the reason why we came together as a group, as a reminder, is that there's a few sections in our town where we've allowed things to happen that are not really good for our community. And what I saw happen in the northwest section is once those trees started getting planted, and there was a community garden that Steve didn't talk about that came up in one of the neighborhoods, what you started seeing is that the citizens in those neighborhoods that had been hiding in their houses for months at a time started coming out and participating in the conversation.
Costello is joined by Chris Louris, the former mayor of Rutland, who was also instrumental in pushing Project Vision forward. He described the impact of restoring some park benches to an area that had become a hangout for some bad behaviors, he said.
I said, how about if we put a bench back in that park and we reclaim that space for the community? So when we put that one bench out, we said, the behaviors that were being modeled here before do not uphold the values and the standards of this community. There's now 4 benches there, and as Chief said, as far as I know, and at least until I left my job back last March, there had been no more calls for service. And now my family business is in downtown Rutland, and the behaviors this past summer, the behaviors have not returned.
The Arlington Renewal project began last fall as an effort to bring back a sense of well-being in Arlington and spearhead some forward motion across several areas, such as the local business climate, upgrading the town's recreation park, and helping local schools, among others. Tuesday's meeting was an opportunity for some of the committees within the project to discuss some details and regroup after not meeting in December, when the attention of several of the key players in the renewal initiative was focused on Act 46 issues facing the local school board. The renewal project will be back to meeting on a monthly basis, Baker said.
So what I see is, the first part of the renewal project, first couple months was really spent on the self-study committee working with the school board. And that took a lot of energy, and they produced a great report. So now the focus is on the other committees to identify goals and then start working towards those goals and setting metrics to meet those goals. So, for example, you heard the conversation tonight about the economic development piece. I mean, one goal that they've set as a committee that we're encouraging them to do is to identify the businesses in town, some of the hidden businesses, to get them to come out, get them involved, start the conversation about how you can grow that activity in town. And along with that, identifying those opportunities where we can start bringing people to town for either recreational purposes or other to help grow those businesses.
For the GNet TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.